Agura. I I am from a department called Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances. We look at reforms part of it, and urban sector is one part which really is looking forward for reforms, and we, in our own way, are playing a small role. This is just some facts before you. I was reading a book by Jeb Brugman, Welcome to Urban Revolution, How Cities Are Changing the World. I think anyone who is dealing with urban cities should read this book. It's a very, very good book, and it deals with, first it has given some facts that 21st century's greatest challenge, as you know, is how we improve our approaches to city building, and really in the next 30 years, India's population is going to double. So what the solution is, and what really the solution which we are looking forward in this to come out in this session is what they call is local urbanism. That is how we design, how we govern our cities in the times to come. We have to align the competing interests of different people, because more and more people are now coming to stay in the cities. We have to take into consideration their aspiration, their needs, their requirements. And any strategy, whether we are talking about ICT strategy or we are talking of any other strategy of governance, of designing of the city, it has to take the person who's living over there, the citizen, into its center. Now, this is also the agenda of the citizen-centric agenda of the Government of India. In fact, this whole thing was taken up in the 12th report of the Second Administrative Reform Commission, and they have said that citizen-centricity is the core of any governance, whether it is a national government, whether at local level or at the state level. Now, we are all citizens, you, me, everybody is sitting over here. And for example, like I was working in the taxation department, I'm in the revenue services. So nobody comes and calls me up and says, hey, the revenue has increased 20% this year, congratulations. Okay, you are not bothered. Are you really bothered how much is the revenue of the country or how much? As long as you are getting, you will be calling me up if your refund doesn't come in time. Okay. You have filed a tax return and you are not getting the refund in time. So you are going to call me up. Or what are your basic concerns, everyday concerns? Your concerns are whether your garbage is not being picked up on time, whether the bus which you are taking from here to your office, does it come on time? Does it tell you that what time the bus is going to come, what time this is to be coming? So whatever steps you need to take in the realm of governance, okay, that has to be in conformity with the needs of the citizens. Now, when I say it has to be in conformity with the needs of the citizens, the next question is, are these municipal organization or the city government organization or the local government organizations, are they really empowered to look at these type of systems? Are the systems such that they can take care of the needs of the citizens? Are the people who are working over there, are they geared up to taking some of these citizen-centric initiatives? Or if really they want to do that, do they have the capacity to do this? So, just one example I'll give you. One of the biggest initiatives, as you know, if you've heard about this initiative which was taken in Cambodia, it is by one gentleman called Mr. Ek Saw Chan. He was the governor, he was the head of the Phnom Penh, which is the capital of Cambodia. He was the mayor over there, and they set the whole system into order. And this is in 1993, when Cambodia had just come out of the war. Okay, and he took over this thing, and he really changed the whole system and got the water connection system. And nowadays you will find that in Cambodia this is 24/7 water supply is there. Now this example is not from any Western country. It is from a country which is even in a worse situation over here. And there was no ICT over there. How did he do it? He did it by connecting to the people. He went out, he spoke, a lot of things went about by that. So ICT, what I would want to say is that when you keep ICT as a goal, it will not work. You have to take ICT from the point of view of the requirements of the citizens. How, and that integration really needs to be done, and that is what we sitting over here should come out with some type of solutions like this. Now, in our department, we have been focusing and developing mechanism for improving service delivery from the citizens' point of view. In fact, we have also developed a framework to assess and improve the service delivery. This is how a framework looks like. This is a framework from the citizens' point of view. It has got 3 modules, which is the charter, citizens' charter, which defines what the standards are. So you announce to the citizens that you are going to give refunds within 30 days, or you give the passport within 15 days. So this is one of the components. The second one is the grievance redressal, and the third is service delivery capability. Here also it is further divided into three criteria each: implementation, monitoring and review. And in public grievance it is receipt, redress and prevention. And in service delivery we look at aspects of customer focus, our employees training and our infrastructure. Just talk about this model later. This model has also been suggested by the second ARC, and they have recommended that this should be made compulsory in all organizations. Now, as a department, we are supporting the implementation of this model in many of the central government and also in the state government. Central government is Department of Posts, Central Board of Excise and Customs, and Central Board of Direct Taxes, Income Tax, Ministry of Food Processing. And in the state government, we are trying to help organizations like Municipal Corporation of Shimla, which was our first project. Then we are also helping Women and Child Development in Karnataka, Health Department Madhya Pradesh, and Public Distribution System in Odisha. So these are some of the organizations which we are helping to build capacity to take up service delivery improvement initiative using our service delivery excellence model. Okay, so basically here what I wanted to share with you is our experience which we had when we tried to go in the municipal corporation sector, and what type of support we gave in the municipality. In Shimla we worked and we had engaged a consultant. So what were the issues which came out? Reason why we went to Shimla was that we have already been talking about, we have been talking about that good service delivery should be there. We had already developed the framework for assessing the quality of service, and we just didn't want to do a talking part. We wanted to showcase that when you actually go to a municipality and start working with them to improve their service delivery, what are the issues which will come out? What are the challenges which you will be facing? And then when you go to the state government, even if you want to give them finances, resources, money is being given to state organizations, municipalities, they are not able to absorb that money because they don't have the capacity to absorb that money. They don't have the manpower or the technical thing to absorb that funds. Even funds are available. If funds are available for capacity building, they will not use it for capacity building. They will use it for infrastructure. They will use it for buying computers. They will use it for some other things. But capacity building is something which is completely left over there. So what you are expecting these bodies, municipal bodies, to really change or make the cities smart, first thing is you have to make them smart. Those who are governing the cities, who are the managers of the cities, first they should become smart. Then only they can think of making the city smarter. So we also wanted to document a methodology for implementing our Sevottam framework after actually going through the process rather than just writing about it. We wanted to translate requirements of quality management into practical implementation steps for government organization, and we wanted to build capacity at the local level to take up such initiatives. Now today we are fortunate over here that we have Dr. Bajaj, who was the project manager at Shimla. So I will just request her if she can tell you how we went about and what were the issues which really came out during this experimentation or a pilot project which we had in Shimla. Some of these issues, if you look at those issues, maybe it will help you in understanding in the correct perspective how you are going to, how your ICT initiatives are going to be actually useful in making cities smarter. That is what our objective is, na? Our objective is that how we can use ICT to make a city smarter. So what are those issues which came out in our Shimla experiment? Those are things. I'll tell you how we supported. We gave them financial support and we gave them consultancy support. Now the consultancy support, the type of consultancy support which we had given to them was not that armchair consultancy, that you sit and design their city plans. It's the easiest thing. Every city has got city plans. But the municipal commissioner would not know that the city plan exists. He has to search in Google and he can find that Shimla ka city plan is already there. But he will not know. So we wanted the consultants to actually sit down with them and work on a day-to-day basis and find out what are the problems which are coming over there, what are the issues which are coming over there, and how we can sort those issues out. And we also tried to bring about some best practices like the online grievance system which was already available in Guntur. Because we have that repository, we could try to translate it. But even the translation had certain issues. Okay, there was a good system working in another municipality. We wanted to replicate it. We got the software, we bought the software, everything. But still if it's not working, why it is not working? Okay, there are lessons learned from success stories, there are lessons learned from failures also. So I'll just request Dr. Bajaj to quickly, if you can just tell us what our experience was. I'll show how we went around with the methodology, etc. And I'll leave it to her to complete this presentation, tell us, and then we can raise whatever questions are there. Then we can answer your questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manish Mohan. It's a unique opportunity that the client and consultant both are there together. So we can have half of presentation divided between us. This slide is a typical representation of a project management methodology. You first have the initiation stage, then strategy planning, implementation and ownership, etc. Very quickly, in the initiation stage, the perspective was that the municipal corporation officials from the municipal commissioner, joint commissioner, assistant commissioner, down to all the HODs, they needed to understand that what the model is trying to do. At the end of it, as Mr. Manish Mohan mentioned, that the first part of the model is about citizen charter, which lays down service standards. So you need to lay down your services and you need to prescribe standards for them. So in the initiation stage was more about helping them to understand what should be a good citizen charter. It's not that they didn't have a citizen charter, they had a 3-page citizen charter that was already there on the website. But to find out from the charter for a citizen, what is it that the municipality is actually going to provide them was very difficult. So the initiation stage goes in explaining and coming on the same plane as what is it that we are trying to do, whether it is implementation of IT or whether it is training to employees. That is the first phase. In the second phase, we start planning as to how we're going to do it, whether we'll use technology first or we'll do capacity building first, what is it that we're going to do first and what comes later. The third stage is of actually implementing those plans and then gradually shifting the ownership from the consultant to the corporation, because the consultants are not going to be there all their lives. It's going to be a limited period. And gradually in the third phase, we start helping them to start taking ownership of that. And finally, external assessment stage is the stage when somebody, a third party, say for example a certification agency, could look at the model and certify that the corporation is actually fulfilling the requirements of that model. This is a very typical project management methodology which I'm sure many of you would be familiar with. in the initiation and the strategy planning stage, these are the kind of things that came up. If we look at these points, they don't seem to be very unusual. Like they're nothing specific to municipal corporation Shimla, or for that matter any other small town corporation. There were no laid down standards. So for water supply, Shimla is infamous for poor water supply. They get about half an hour water supply alternate days in the summer months. In winter months, it will be half an hour water supply every day. So no laid down standards, no monitoring whether that half an hour it is coming or it is not coming. All those kinds of things were already there. It is well known that Shimla has a water problem, but actually what is the extent of the problem is not very publicly known. Secondly, inadequate attention to management and planning, which is again a common thing across municipalities of small towns. Improperly maintained infrastructure. So if there are water pipes, there's a network of water pipes going through the hills, going through the roads, and at so many places you can see the water leaking. So on one side there is a huge shortage of water, and on the other side there is leakage, there is wastage. So how to bring that together in terms of management practices or planning, that was practically non-existent. Lack of accountability. So if there is no water for even half an hour on alternate days, who's responsible? Whether it is a municipal engineer, whether it is a junior engineer, who's going to take responsibility, who will be answerable, and who's going to take corrective action? More than accountability on who's responsible is who's responsible for setting it right. And lack of incentives to perform. This was repeated again and again and again. Why should we be going out of our way to do something? Will we get more salary, or what is it? If we work, even then it is the same thing. People who don't work, they get higher rewards, so on and so forth. This is extremely frequently cited. Now, in terms of how did we go about identifying the gaps? So these are some of the things that stand out at the end of about 12 months of work with them. In the water billing areas, when we started talking to the municipal engineer, what are the issues in water-related issues? So apart from the shortage of water, the shortage of water, everybody says we can't do anything about it till sources of water are developed. But in billing, at least we can do. Water billing, they were not able to issue bills regularly. Sometimes the billing frequency is 3 months, sometimes it is 6 months. And most of the times, the perception was that water billing is a problem because we don't have enough meter readers. We have only 22 meter readers and we have 11,000 water connections. And in a hilly terrain where the meter reader has to physically walk, he cannot even cycle, he has to walk and climb hills to read meters. So they don't go for meter reading. They are not able to cover that area. And therefore, our water billing is a problem. So we need 10 more meter readers. For example, a problem will be solved if your project can help us to get 10 more meter readers, our problem will be solved. So when we went into the details of the data, we found that 26% of their bills were on metered consumption. More than 70% bills were coming on average. So anyway, whatever meter readers are there, even they are not going out and reading the meters. So it's still coming on average consumption. And when we said that, when we tried to get into the question as to why is there so much of average billing, because the moment you have a large percentage of average billing, there is a large percentage of complaints also. Because consumers will say that we've not used it and you're charging us for that. Now, when we actually got into the data as to why average billing is coming, then in the case, the first answer they gave us is just written meter not found. Now, it's not possible to validate whether he actually did not find the meter or he did not go, or whether the meter is actually hidden, either it is under the road or it is on top of a hill and it is not easily found. But that is the state of the actual data. Although the perception was meter readers की कमी है, meter reader हमारे पास 11 और आ जाए तो भी हो जाएगा. But if 61% of the meters cannot be found, what will additional meter readers do? That kind of question was not being answered. In terms of garbage collection, again the first thing that was being talked about is garbage collection. The problem is because we don't have vehicles. We don't have enough vehicles. We only have 11 vehicles or something like that. If we get 20 more vehicles, entire garbage collection problem of the municipality will be solved. When we started getting into the details, what we found was there was no calculation as to how many kilometers does a vehicle cover, how many vehicles are in working condition, how many vehicles, when does a vehicle visit the workshop, how many hours of operations does the vehicle actually have, how many kilometers per liter of diesel does the vehicle actually consume. So all these questions, there is no objective data available on these kinds of things, and the perception that vehicles, for about 3 years the municipality has been putting up notes to the finance ministry in the state government to sanction more vehicles. So some 2 crores or 3 crores they had asked that please sanction us more vehicles, then the garbage collection situation can be moved. And every time finance was rejecting there that instead of getting more vehicles, you should be making it a bin-free city. So you don't need vehicles, rather you need some other system to do it. Now, when we actually went into the calculations, did an actual calculation, we found that there were only 4 vehicles that were operative, 11 vehicles on record were in the workshop and not in operative condition. So based on the physical data that was available, some data collection we also helped them to do. And finally then a note was again put up to the state government, on the basis of which, because the note was supported by facts and data that could be verified, on the basis of that they actually got a soft loan of about 2 crores to purchase more vehicles. After that, actually that is not the end of the problem, that's the beginning of the problem. Now you've got 2 crores to buy vehicles, so you have to buy vehicles, you have to get them fabricated, you have to recruit drivers to run the vehicles, and who will you recruit as drivers? Whether it is this party or that party, and this party is going to raise problems, too many people from that side are being recruited. That was actually the start of the problem. We thought when the loan is sanctioned, the problem is over, but we realized that the problem started after that. And then after that, to introduce a GIS system and to see how the vehicle is moving, how much it is covering, how many tons of garbage it is carrying, all those kinds of issues were to come much later. In terms of the complaint management system now, like a typical small town, anybody who knows anybody will pick up the phone and call him. So anybody who knows the municipal commissioner will call up with a complaint, pani nahi aa raha hai, or garbage is a problem. They'll call up. If somebody knows the municipal commissioner, he'll call them up. Somebody knows the assistant commissioner, he'll call them up. There is no regular system of receiving complaints. So if nobody knows anybody, then you cannot make a complaint. Also in a town like Shimla, the municipal corporation's office is a heritage building and is situated on Scandal Point, which is one of the best tourist points. So anybody who wants to take an afternoon walk on the mall, he'll walk into the municipal commissioner's office and lodge a complaint. There's a problem. So people keep their complaints that when we walk to the mall, that time we'll lodge the complaint. So it's just indicating that there is no systematic way of receiving complaints. And the grievance receipts registers, we actually saw the water complaint registers, they were outdated. About 25 years old, format was still being used. They were using the format that was relevant when people were physically coming to deliver complaints. Now complaints are being taken on phone. Water complaints are also being taken on phone. But the register had a column, Shikayat Karta ke Hastakshar, which meant that the complaint is physically coming, handing over and signing the register. So these kinds of things have been going on for 15, 20 years. Now, what will huge ICT systems do in it? Or for that matter, what capacity building is required to be done for this? That you carry on registers where you have 3 columns which are left blank because they are not relevant. And the relevant information of what is the complainant's contact number. So if the complaint is redressed, can we get back to them? Those kinds of things are not recorded because there is no column heading for that. So if you look at it, it's a very silly thing, that you just need to change the format of your register to be able to have the correct data available to be able to redress complaints. In terms of classification and prioritization of complaints, what is important, what is not important, what should be done in 24 hours. For example, if a gutter is blocked, sewage line is blocked, it's an urgency situation. It needs priority compared to some other smaller problem of a leakage somewhere or the other. But then prioritization, as we all know in this country, prioritization happens not on the basis of the seriousness of the complaint, but as to who has lodged the complaint or through whom the complaint has come. If it has come through a municipal councillor, then obviously it is more important. If it has come directly, then obviously it's less important. So those are the kind of issues that they struggle with at the ground level. Those are the kind of things that are going to pain the citizens. If ICT can find us a solution for that, we'll be very happy. Time norms for grievance redress. Whether there is a standardized time norm, every water supply related complaint gets addressed in 24 hours or 48 hours, they were not able to say. In fact, in a workshop with about 20-25 people, including municipal councillors and officers from the municipal corporation, when we tried to collect data, what is the average time for redressal of a water supply complaint, you might find it intriguing that the range we got was, it ranges from 24 hours to 7 days. And nobody was able to say what is the actual time or average time that is being taken. Somebody said, kabhi 7 din bhi lagte hain. Now, probably that is the reality, that sometimes if it is a more difficult situation, it is difficult to identify where the leakage is or where the pipes have burst, then probably it takes much more time. You have to dig in 3 places to find out where the problem is. But they were not at all in a position to be able to say that we can address 100% of our complaints within 7 days. Even 7 days, they were not in a position to commit. So gradually helping them to understand that you must commit something, even if you don't say 100%, at least 80%, at least 90%, 70%, whatever you want to commit, that you should start committing so that your mind starts getting focused that something needs to be measured. You cannot continue with the situation forever when you say ki it can be addressed in 7 days, it may not be addressed in 7 days. You have to say what percentage is going to get addressed in whatever time frame you want to prescribe for that. For that matter, this Gautam model doesn't tell you what should be the time frame. It just tells you that the time frame, whatever the time frame is, it should be made public. So once it is made public, then we are in a way empowering the citizen to at least have that knowledge as to what the entitlements are and what can they demand and from whom they can demand. In terms of the achievements, now as Mr. Manishman said, there are lessons to be learned from successes and failures. Some of the things worked out, some of the things did not work out during the currency of the project and probably matured a little later. The kind of things that we were able to do was identification of 16 services, that is water supply hours, garbage collection frequency, emptying of dumpers. Those kinds of about 16 services were listed and they were put up. Standards were agreed on that with the commissioner, with the municipal councillors, and a final decision was taken that they will start displaying those standards in the ward offices. Now, whether they are meeting 10%, 20%, 30% over a period of time, data will start getting collected, and then we should be able to gradually increase the percentage of meeting those standards. Analysis of gaps in the areas of complaint management as to ad hoc. The methodology for lodging complaints was ad hoc, making it more systematic by providing a centralized call center number through which people can lodge their complaints, and the system could receive the complaint and send an SMS on mobile to the Jamadar or the junior engineer who is actually on the field and who's going to redress. So this fellow doesn't have to come back to office, get a list of the complaints and then go next day. Wherever he is in the field, from there only he can directly go to the site and address the complaints. Some of the infrastructure related issues that could be sorted out during the project were setting up of this call center, increasing the number of vehicles for garbage disposal. Then water billing and collection, as in fact I had mentioned in my question also, that we talk about capacity building and we talk about smart solutions, data security and such sophisticated things. But if you look at the ground realities, then we are still struggling with the bug-free water billing systems, which is not an issue at all, which is available. But then in those places, people just don't know how to go about it. They had a vendor who was coming every 2 months, charging them 20,000-30,000 rupees, and then saying that your requirements are not complete, you have to come back. No, I'm not saying that it is this side fault or that side fault, but the end story is that after 2.5 years, 3 years, they're still struggling to have a bug-free software to churn out bills every 6 months, or 3 months was the target. They were not able to do it even in 6 months. And some improvement in the review and monitoring practices to replace. They were very proud of saying कि ये अंग्रेजों के ज़माने से चला रहा है. अंग्रेजों के ज़माने से कुछ अच्छी चीज़ें चली आ रही हैं, but some of these things have become outdated and new technologies have come which help to deliver better services. Now, a couple of things on how the Sevottam model, which Mr. Manish Mohan has also mentioned and which we had used as the guideline. In fact, if you want to know more about Sevottam, you can just Google Sevottam. There's a lot of information on Sevottam available because the Administrative Reforms Commission has now mandated it for implementation in all central government ministries and also recommended to the state governments for initiating implementation. Now, how is the Sevottam? How the Sevottam is a standard for quality management systems. So how do you manage quality of service deliveries is what Sevottam says. The standards of service delivery are the sectoral standards. So for example, the sectoral standard for water supply is 24/7. If you look at the Ministry of Urban Development, Government of India, sectoral standards, benchmarks, 24/7 pressurized water supply is the norm. That is what you should have. But in Shimla, 24/7 pressurized water supply is quite a far cry. I mean, if today we were to say that we want to achieve that, I'm not very sure what timeline we would say for ourselves. A drastic increase in the availability of water, it requires huge investments. They have to develop water sources, they have to develop methods to transport the water from the source to households, laying down pipelines, etc. Now, what the Sevottam system would say that whatever is your current water supply, whether it is half an hour, whether it is 1 hour, whether it is alternate days, whether it is 15 days, whatever is, it should be public knowledge and it should be publicly declared and you should stick to it. The philosophy behind or the thinking behind this is that you need to declare your service standards. Once you declare your service standards, then there is pressure on you to, because publicly it is very difficult to acknowledge that we can give water only for half an hour in alternate days. Then what are we doing? So whether it is 1 hour, whether it is half an hour, it should be publicly declared, and that gradually that half an hour or 1 hour should be brought to a sane window. Because at that point in time, they were saying that that half an hour could be any time of the day or night. It could even be 2:30 in the morning when half an hour water will come from 2:30 to 3. So previous information on what time water will be available, even that would be a help to citizens, because suddenly if water comes at 2:30, you're not prepared to collect or fill in the water, then you cannot use the water. So the Sevottam quality management system prescribes that whatever are the standards, whatever is going to be done, that should be publicly made available, and prior information should be available to the citizens so they can take advantage of whatever is there. Whether it is half an hour or 1 hour, you can at least use it. But if it is not known, then you cannot use that window also. So it is not, Sivotam is not saying that you should have 24/7 supply or you should have 2 hours or 3 hours. It only says that whatever you have should be publicly made transparent. So whether you use ICT to do that or you use other means, you might use a notice board in front of the ward office, you might just write it with a sketch pen on a huge chart paper, even that will serve the purpose. The focus of this quality management system model is more on the reliability of the service delivery, not on whether it is at this level or this level or this level, but reliability itself is an attribute of the service delivery. So reliability, time window being fixed and being communicated, not just being fixed internally, because inside the municipal corporation office records probably it was written down that in this area it will be available from this time to this time, but the citizens don't know about it. So fixing it internally is one part and making it transparent and known to the citizens is another part, which is the main focus of the excellence model. In terms of lessons learned, now some of those lessons are available in the form of a document which is called the user manual, which if people are interested in the details, it's available with Department of Administrative Reforms. Many new processes have been put in place, like centralized receipt of grievance, because this is now very common that you could call up a centralized number and lodge your complaint rather than having to know somebody in the municipal corporation to be able to lodge a complaint. A number of reference documents have been created. For example, in Shimla also they wanted to create a society which would manage the environment, beautification and cleanliness both together through involvement of citizens. Now, it's very easy to say that we want to do it through the involvement of citizens, but what are the nitty-gritties of actually doing it? What documentation needs to be done? What legal entities need to be created? So in their case, the way they went about creating a society called the Shimla Environmental and Heritage Beautification Society, which is SEHEB, how they went about it, what documents were prepared for, what was the trust deed, what was the resolution, memorandum of association, etc., what was done, and then how did they go about creating the organizational structure, how did they assign roles and responsibilities, job descriptions, duty charts, etc. All that documentation has been put together in the form of the user manual, and obviously that can be used as one of the requirements for implementation of a technical solution also. And in terms of a citizen-centric, it being a citizen-centric reform, Department of Administrative Reforms has been in touch with Ministry of Urban Development to include fulfillment of Sivotam requirements as one of the aspects of the JNURM reform requirements. So that is about the Shimla experience. Thank you so much for your attention.
Are there any questions which you can take? Any comments? Anyone from the panel, if you want to comment something on this? Yes, ma'am. Nothing? Okay. So we can go ahead with the next presentation.
Sir, if you don't mind, can I ask her something?
Yeah, please.
Dr. Bajaj, you did mention something regarding the strategy and planning phase when you were going ahead and doing that particular exercise in Shimla. So you did mention that you thought about whether to take ICT first or do the change management or the capacity building. So can you just dwell on this thing, what the thought process was and how did you arrive at what decision you took?
Yeah. The thought process was actually, the sequence of the thought process was dictated by the Sivotam model, because that is what we want to do. We want to set service standards, we want to make them transparent. Now in their case, whether it is through technology or it is before technology, in fact one of the things they mentioned was that we need basic training, basic computer training for our people. So if they don't have basic computer training, in fact in this project, one of the things we first did was to explain to the municipal commissioner's PA how to download mails so that we could correspond with them from Delhi. So in that kind of a situation, it was very difficult to think of an ICT solution first. We had to think of the basics and to help them understand that some of the things that they are struggling with and trying to do manually, they can be done through ICT. So how do they understand, improve the manual system and move over to a technical solution so that they don't have to struggle with these kinds of things. And many of the things that they were trying to do at a local level, trying to maintain a local billing software, which is not required at all. You could, the Urban Development Department could host a software for all the municipalities in Himachal. I mean, the scale was not that much that it couldn't be done. So at what stage, what ICT intervention should come and how it should scale up from a small little prototype, Excel-based prototype to regular software, those kinds of things we had to bring into the planning stage.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying here is that we started off with change management and trying to, put things in perspective for different people. and slowly brought in the technology in front of the people, and then there was an iterative process per se.
Yeah, precisely, and that is basically because the terms of reference is that we have to implement a quality management system. So wherever ICT is useful, we bring in ICT, but there are many other aspects of quality management that may not necessarily be directly connected to it.
In fact, I can add something over here is what we did later on when we started changing their formats, etc. And then when they were looking for an online public grievance system, we, instead of reinventing the wheel, we looked for some very good practices. Like in Guntur, they already have a online public grievance redress system. So we tried to build in that system and replicate it over here. Thank you. Yeah, is there any other question there? I think in the end somebody wanted to say something. Anything, sir? You would like to say something?
Yeah, possibly one query has been in terms of set of service level agreements being signed with the service providers. Any kind of service level agreements being signed with the service provider?
In fact, here we did not go in for a PPP model. The service was being provided by the municipality only. So, service level agreements are when you are providing with the private vendor and you tell them that, okay, you have to provide this service at this level. But here the service is being provided by the government municipality itself. Now here, in the end, we had helped them to get their service standards. For example, for garbage collection, we said, okay, the frequency, which was daily. In a pilot ward, we said, okay, daily the garbage will be collected, and the time for collection of garbage, that was also defined from 8 to 9. Okay, that thing was there. That thing was being announced for that ward. So here, the mere announcement becomes a service level agreement with the citizens. There is no punishment or anything that if you don't meet this. This is just a voluntary thing. But even the fact that it is being announced, it's also a very big step forward in this direction.
And it's commendable. But going forward, I believe the roadmap would be to scale up and to improve the services. And when you have set standards like that, then ideally you would like to monitor and manage and audit the kind of service level agreements which have been either say for any municipalities agreed with their service provider, or the ULB themselves are committing to the citizens. So ideally there has to be some kind of accountability through these SLAs, and which need to be monitored and managed by the agency. So that's what we possibly feel that ICT needs to provide these kind of
yeah, definitely, whatever you are saying is absolutely correct. What we have done in Shimla, that is just a first step.
Yeah.
But ultimately that step goes to what you are saying. There has to be a service level agreement. In fact, in morning we had that presentation by NDMC where they have said that, okay, the punishment will be there. But look from the point of the employee. If you are not empowered, or if you do not have the capacity to deliver it within a day, or within the prescribed thing which you have told, and then on top of it then you are punished, then it's wrong. You have to go a step, you have to take the first step first. First get your house in order, first become capable of delivering it in time, and then go in for a next step, which is having a service level agreement. Doing it in a PPP mode is easier. Like for example in the passport, they have totally outsourced it to TCS. So TCS, they have a service level agreement. It is up to, they have to ensure that the passport will be delivered in 15 days or something. But over here, the situation is different. Here you are yourself saying that you will be able to give it within, let's say, any birth certificate in 2 days. Let's say if you are doing it. So, first thing, you should have your systems in order.
Agreed.
Okay.
And then it's a step in the
This
right
is the first
direction.
step, and it's a step in the right direction. Ultimately, what we are aiming to do is to go to that path using the Sevotha model. And the Sevotha model is a good approach. It's a focused approach which will ultimately take you to the path of continuous improvement.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
I would
you.
just like to, I think, point out one more thing, is that when you say that in PPP model there is a service, there is a system integrator or a service provider. In case of e-passport, passport seva, it is TCS. I mean, for the ministry or for the end user department, when they outsource the services totally to a system integrator, these kind of tools and the SLAs are the only thing which they can take note of, take reports from, and seek the accountability of the agreed say functional requirements and the SLAs which have been decided as part of the contract. So I think these are pretty important. I mean, any kind of e-gov initiative, that's what we want to drive at, actually.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is very important to get in the SLAs having a fixed time or setting of standards in SLAs. It's very, very important, and that's what we are moving towards in many of your projects. Like MCA is also an outsourced project. In many of these places, the driving license, for example, issuance of driving license, this has been outsourced. But in most of these cases, the standards have been set up in the contract between the service provider, and SLA is one of the important aspect of it. That's how we are moving. This is in that direction only we are moving when we get into these things. You are absolutely right.
Thank you.
Thank you.